What is up, ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing on this Friday night? Wait till we get some people on in here. Nas, I see you in the chat. How we doing there tonight? Boy, oh boy, do we got a lot to discuss and talk about Friday night SmackDown, WrestleMania 42s. We got to see the final boss tonight deliver that announcement. So, how is everybody doing? Be sure to hit that thumbs up if you have made your way in here already. Hit that like button. I see you, Nas. What's going on tonight? How's everything going? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to my Friday night SmackDown review. My name is Pat. Welcome to Turnbuckle Topics. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, and you'll be eligible to drop whatever comments in the chat. Make your way in here. Hit the thumbs up. All right, hit that like button. Got plenty to discuss here. Cal, how we doing? Nas, what did you guys think of SmackDown tonight? Personally, to me, this was the first time probably all year that I felt as if this show did not drag. Now, maybe that's Cody and The Rock starting off the 10 o'clock hour, helping smooth things over a bit. But I thought overall this show was pretty good. I won't say it was outstanding, but we got substance here. We got substance. Again, we got a WrestleMania 42 announcement. They'll be returning to New Orleans for their third WrestleMania. They've been there for WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 34. And now next year, they'll be returning for WrestleMania 42 at the Caesars Superdome, no longer the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Rachel, how we doing? What's up, guys? Make your way in here. Be sure to hit that thumbs up. Again, if you're new here, also subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. But we're going to talk about everything, start to finish. You know how we do here. So again, the final boss, Rock, we got part of that after he made that announcement tonight. And then I just watched his press conference. That's why I decided to come on here a couple minutes later than usual. The Rock's press conference was actually pretty good. I love some of the stories he told tonight regarding his first WrestleMania back WrestleMania 13 in Chicago, and him becoming a heel for the first time in late '97. So I do highly suggest if you did not see the Rock's press conference immediately following SmackDown tonight, that of course after you watch this live here, go on YouTube, check it out. It's a pretty good 20-minute clip. Valerie, how we doing tonight? Vera, how we doing? Nas, you weren't a fan of the show? I'll be honest with you, man. This show was the first one all year that actually flowed for me. Now, I'm not saying it was an outstanding show, but I wasn't dreading this show as I've had in the past when I'm like, oh man, we still have a third hour to get to. I thought it was solid. I thought it was a solid show. Doing good, Cal. How's everything? The Rock, Value, big fan of the Rock, the People's Champ. Now the final boss. Aaron, what's up? I thought the whole Cody and Rock segment was odd. Absolutely. A lot of weird innuendos, Aaron. It kind of left a lot to the imaginations. So I'll be honest with you, Aaron, and to anybody who's in here, I don't think they completely know as to where they're going with Rock Cody just as yet. I think at absolute earliest, it could be a match at SummerSlam, but who knows? If you watch the press conference after SmackDown tonight, in regards to The Rock, he said this may not even culminate to a match. So we'll see. I think it will at some point. They're just not sure when, right? So that was all right. How do you remember me from yesterday's live? Yes, Pentafan. I remember you guys. Appreciate you all being here with me on a Friday night. Be sure to hit that like button. You're all in here. I promise you, it's free of charge. Hit the like button. And again, if you're in the chat already, you are subscribed. If you're watching and you're not in the chat yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This way you can, I'll shout you out in the chat and answer any questions you may have. Cody Rhodes is corporate bad guy soon. Yeah. Who knows, Sean? We may finally get that heel Cody. I don't think he's going to give in. At least not this early. I know some that are wanting Cody to turn heel want him to do so, but I don't see that happening just as yet. So in other pro wrestling news, I'm sure a lot of you read earlier today that Carmella, for those that are wondering what's going on with Carmella, she's been away for 2 years, and Carmella's contract quietly expired recently. So who knows if and when we'll ever see her back with the company. Former tag team champion, former SmackDown Women's Champion, and of course, the first ever Women's Money in the Bank winner in 2017. So a lot to discuss here. Again, I think this was a solid show. Not saying it was a phenomenal one, but we got some substance here. And I think that's all we could really ask for, especially with this new 3-hour show. It wasn't as much filler nonsense as you would typically see week after week lately in January and early February. I go back to Bruno Sammartino, Chief J Strongbow. Yeah, absolutely, Val. I had the privilege to meet Bruno in 2016. He was awesome. He actually signed this title behind me. and never met. Was able to meet Chief Jay Strongbow though. And let's see here. Pentafan says, I feel like KO is a little creepy and crazy at the same time. Well, hey, Penta, you you got every reason to legitimately say that because he was outside of Sami Zayn's house, outside of the window while you could see Sammy and his wife and his child tonight cutting that promo. So that qualifies, my man. Rachel says she saw some comments on Facebook calling KO a stalker. Yeah, well, I think that's valid. I think that's valid if you're outside of somebody's house and you could look into the window and see their family. So, all right, guys, well, hit that thumbs up, hit the like button. I know I got at least 7, 8, 10 of you in here. Let's hit that like button. All right, guys. Again, appreciate the subscribes as well. And we're going to get down to business talking a little Friday Night SmackDown in NOLA. So let's talk about the opening contest. We had Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso ends up getting the win here. Post-match attack by Drew McIntyre. Some may call this the continuation of the crash out of maybe a KO one day. Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, eventually all them more so take more losses than wins. May eventually join some kind of faction or camaraderie later in the year. So we'll see what happens there. But again, post-match attack by Drew McIntyre. He was incensed, rightfully so. Nick Aldis and all the guys backstage officials had to break that one up. So I'm not going to get too much in on that because we got a lot to discuss. Let's jump to the next part. This was kind of fun for what it's worth. Whenever you see R-Truth on the screen, we got The Miz and Carmelo Hayes forming this tag team, as The Miz called them. You know, Carmelo Hayes always says, Melo don't miss. Well, Miz said, I got something for you. How about Melo don't miss? Hopefully this was the first and last time we see those two together tonight. So they went up against R-Truth, and he said he had a mystery opponent from Louisiana. We were all wondering who it could be. Is it a celebrity? Is it legitimately a wrestler? Is it an old timer or something like that? Ends up being LA Knight, you know, using the whole LA abbreviation for Louisiana, which we all know LA Knight is supposed to stem from Los Angeles, even though on commentary they let us know LA Knight's from Maryland. So that was what it was. So they had a match, and the way this went, I believe, Miz pinned R-Truth. I don't know if he hit a skull-crushing finale at the end. I did walk out the room at the end of that match, but while the referee was distracted, prior to that, Nakamura came from the crowd and I believe attacked LA Knight on the outside while the referee again was distracted. So that's the way that one went. And so after those two initial matches in hour one, we would also get a Zelina Vega video package talking about how she never had it easy. She has something to prove. First Queen of the Ring, former tag team champion, and she's hungry. And to be honest with you guys, they're doing absolutely nothing in the mid card situation. We all know with these mid card titles. So I mean, look, who will eventually dethrone Chelsea Green? We don't know. I don't mind seeing Zelina throwing her hat in the ring. Quite literally, I think that would be fun. So we'll see what goes on with that. Let's see. I feel like KO would belong in AEW better than WWE, says Pentafan. I mean, look, KO could certainly cut it wherever he goes. I mean, he's great regardless what he does. I mean, if you're talking championships, Pentafan, maybe he'd be quicker to see a title over there because it seems like they have a couple more than WWE have these days. But outside of that, I mean, what is KO really going to be showcased to do? Yeah, he may get a few more wins over in AEW. May be able to get some singles gold, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, I don't see any reason KO going over there. And he recently signed a 5-year deal, right? I believe in the last week. So he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. So now, before we got a Charlotte Flair video package, I wanted to bring up a couple of points. I know earlier on in the program they showed Solo Sikoa pulling up to the arena. He was then approached by Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. And Solo was explaining, what happened last week, how he accidentally struck Tama Tonga, with the Samoan spike. And Jacob Fatu said, look, I know that was accidental because if it wasn't, we basically would be taking care of you right now, not in such a good way. So, the tension, you could cut it with a knife the last couple of weeks. You know that Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, they're inevitably going to end on a warpath in a match, hopefully at WrestleMania 41 in a couple months' time. That looks like that's where we're headed. That's the trajectory. We'll get to the main event at the end, obviously, but this time around, Jacob ended up accidentally super kicking Solo Sikoa. Accidentally, right? Damian Priest had moved out the way. So that's going to continue to progress, and hopefully they get a match at WrestleMania. And I also thought it was incredibly interesting that for that main event tonight, we got to see Jacob, Solo, and Tama come out to Jacob's music instead of Solo Sikoa's music. So, and again, at that initial segment early on in the show, Solo went on to tell Jacob for the second consecutive week, I love you, Jacob. where Jacob for the last 6, 7 months would say, "I love you, Solo." So long story short, Jacob is completely over the whole Solo Sokoa bit. Solo is trying to make up and play nice, and it ain't working. So he's trying to follow in the footsteps of Jacob, and Jacob ain't having it. Simply stated. So uh, Calvin says KO is right. If Sami Zayn loses, it's going to be his fault, and why his career could potentially end. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit for sure. So let's jump back to the Charlotte Flair video package, shall we? Charlotte Flair, she had a video package, obviously, stemming from her Royal Rumble win, the first ever two-time women's Royal Rumble winner. And she's going to go on to go up against Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, right? Now, whether you guys like Charlotte or not, I like Charlotte. She's cool. Plenty of respect to what she's been able to accomplish in her 10 plus years with the company on NXT, on the main roster, obviously. But that said, I want Tiffany to retain at WrestleMania. Now, if you're a betting man or woman, I think a lot of us, if we're putting money on the line here, I don't think we're going to probably bet against Charlotte Flair. Although I do want to see Tiffany Stratton get the victory at WrestleMania. I do want to see her get that big win over her. And like Stratton said, Stratton came out after that Charlotte Flair video package. And I got to say, Tiffany Stratton looked great as she usually does. She came out in some kind of, I think it was Burberry ring gear. Looked nice. There was something about Tiffany tonight, though. It was in her opening promo. It was even during her match, the brief match she had with Candice LeRae. Stratton seemed to step off. I don't know if she didn't sleep well last night. Who knows? Maybe relationship issues. Who knows what it was? But maybe she's under the weather, feeling a little sick. But Tiffany Stratton just did not come off as herself fully tonight. So she's usually really on point with it. And she seemed like something was off. But Stratton said that she's coming for the number one spot in WWE in place of Charlotte Flair, who a lot of people refer to obviously as the queen and the standard of wrestling, for at least for those that really like her, right? Some may beg to differ. See Calvin writing a whole lot in the comments here. What do we got here? Is KO going to WrestleMania? We'll see, my friend. I'd be led to believe that's the case. Yeah, Cal, much like Nas, we're not big fans of SmackDown tonight. Look, I get it. One of my major takeaways from tonight's SmackDown, silver lining, is the simple fact that for the first time all year, for me at least, everybody's got different opinions, obviously. For the first time all year, SmackDown actually flowed for me, right? Usually I reach that 9:30, 10 o'clock hour, and I'm like, my God, we got an hour plus to go. This is absolutely dreadful. And to me, it was going, and I'm glad they didn't save The Rock for the end. I think bringing him in before 10 o'clock was a smart move, honestly. You got The Rock coming out here making the WrestleMania 42 announcement. I thought that was very nice. Again, NOLA gets their third WrestleMania ever, and it's their third in 12 years, which is a pretty good standard there, that they're coming back there rather often. So they've been there again for 30, 34, and now 42. And then him and Cody, it was an odd encounter with him and Cody, don't get me wrong. But at least we're getting some kind of traction and momentum. And the second half of that promo, he definitely leaned into being the final boss. So I'm looking at that. I know the Liv and Naomi match was scrapped, probably because The Rock showed up, right? The tag team match was cut short with Pretty Deadly and stuff like that. So I could see why a lot of people were not fulfilled with tonight's SmackDown as far as matches were concerned. Look, I get it. And the little women stuff we saw was not all that great. So I get why you would not feel fulfilled in that way, but at least we have some kind of idea of where we're headed with The Rock, to a point that he has no problem leaning back into that final boss character. After Netflix on January 6th, we weren't sure if The Rock was ever going to lean back into that final boss character after coming as the good guy, shaking hands and kissing babies. And so now it seems like we got something there. Rachel says, I was in another live and some girl thinks Charlotte is snobby in real life, you're saying? Hey, who knows? She might be. Miss J says, I don't know if The Rock is going heel or trying to find his soulmate. Yeah, who knows? I mean, look, his father was called Soul Man, right? Soul Man. So who knows what that means? But it was odd. A lot of you mentioned it here. I was checking out social media during the show. A lot of people thought the Rock promo was a little odd. And there's two ways to look at this, maybe much more. But as far as I could perceive it, either The Rock is trying to take us on this mystical ride, as he always tells us, and is really trying to make our minds wonder and wander and see what could he be meaning, and all these subliminals type of deal. Or quite literally, they have no idea what the hell is going to happen with him and Cody, or when these two may eventually collide in a match. Again, I personally think the earliest we see Rock and Cody in a wrestling match could be SummerSlam this year, right? You got to save Rock Roman for WrestleMania. I don't care what WrestleMania it is. Hopefully sooner than later, maybe as early as next year in New Orleans. But uh, maybe we get Rock Roman next WrestleMania. We've been saying that for 5+ years. So that match has to happen at a WrestleMania. But in the meantime, in the interim, Rock and Cody is very important and important enough. The only reason that won't be at a Mania is because of Rock Roman first. But maybe you do Rock Cody at SummerSlam if they can make that work. Again, we're a good 5+ months away from that. A lot can be done. I'm going to get into it in a little bit when I get to that segment. But The Rock did say, Cody, go home, sleep on it. I don't need an answer tonight. Talk it over with your wife, and you let me know at Elimination Chamber in Toronto. I'll be there, and you let me know March 1st your stance. Let me know if you want to join my side. He said a lot of things, which again, I'll get into. You have a few million social media followers. Of course, he says the final boss has 500 million. So, he has no shame touting his ego. So, but that's where the line is blurred, right? The real life Dwayne Johnson and the final boss, The Rock. So, take that as you may personally feel about The Rock either way. So again, we're going to finish up this Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair bit. We eventually would then get Candice LeRae and Nia Jax come out and interrupt Tiffany Stratton during her promo. Again, there was something about Tiffany. I really like her, but she was a little off tonight. Something was just not clicking that she usually does very well. And the whole segment just seemed kind of manufactured, if I'm being honest. And so other than that, Charlotte emerges early in this Candice LeRae Tiffany Stratton match, and she was sitting ringside. And let's fast forward right to the end here. We see a prettiest moonsault ever for the win. Post match attack by Nia Jax. This then would lead to Trish Stratus coming out to the aid of Tiffany Stratton. Again, next weekend, Trish Stratus, Tiffany Stratton are going to be going up against Nia and Candice at Elimination Chamber in a tag team match. And Nia then stacked up Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus for a 2-for-1 annihilator and left them laying. And so that was pretty much how that concluded. Then we would see Charlotte in a moment here. Let me get to the comments. I feel like Charlotte is getting annoying. She doesn't deserve a championship, says Penta fan. Yeah, I hear you, Penta fan. I hear what you're saying there. Let's see. I feel like I had to. Oh, Venus. Corporate Rock. Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like that was the case with Rock tonight and Cody trying to make Cody a corporate champion, right? It was taking me back to the days of old when The Rock joined the corporation. Let's see. Nas said he lied about having 500 million followers on Instagram. Yeah, on Instagram specifically, you're absolutely right. I know on a lot of other social platforms, maybe he's combining them all. With that, the match is going to be good. The storyline is going to suck with Charlotte Flair. So you're talking Nas, you're talking about Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte having a good match, but the storyline isn't all that. Yeah, I'm kind of getting that vibe thus far. Let's see. Wiccan says Candice LeRae is boring. Just don't care about her matches. I hear you. Candice is a good worker, right? As they always say, she's old, faithful, old, reliable. You know what you're going to get with her, and she's good. Again, I think the ceiling is very low. I don't see Candice. Hate to say it. I know she won the Speed Championship. I don't know if she still is that Speed Champion from a month or two ago, but I don't even see Candice really having a legitimate shot at winning that mid card title. Believe it or not. I would much rather see it on somebody, and a lot of people may like Candice LeRae better than Zelina as far as wrestling ability, but I personally would rather see Zelina Vega hold that United States Championship over there on SmackDown. Not just because she deserves it or I think she's capable of earning it, but honestly, Zelina Vega, to me, she makes the most of what she has to offer. She may be short in stature, but she's fun. She's like a little firecracker. I love her personality. She doesn't back down from anybody. She's spicy on the microphone. As good as she has been as a manager with Andrade over the years in NXT and main roster, and helping get him over and across as champion or whatnot. I think Zelina could really do it for herself. So I'm excited for Zelina on SmackDown. I'll be honest, and I'm glad we're at least seeing videos and vignettes of her, at least maybe teasing something, maybe later in the year with her. So let me get to a few more comments. Then we're going to jump back into this review towards the tail end of this. Charlotte Flair showing up in the ring while Tiffany was lying on the ground yet again for the second consecutive week. Cal says, do you think we may see KO at WrestleMania this year? I mean, KO is definitely going to be at Mania this year, and he will have a match, believe you me. Whether it's against, whether it's a rematch with Sammy, which I doubt, whether it's Randy Orton, we'll see KO at Mania. Let's see. They should have kept Indy Hartwell, says Wiccan. Wiccan, I beg to differ. I beg to differ because look, I like Indy Hartwell, I do, but as far as Candice LeRae's sake is concerned, you may not be crazy about Candice, but she's been getting a hell of a lot more significant TV time, win, lose, or draw, being aligned with Nia Jax. And again, regardless how people feel about Nia definitely does one thing, and she gets TV time weekly. So Candice, being the counterpart for Nia, much like Tiffany was for the better part of 2024 with Nia, at least that second half, that's worked wonders. It's given her some opportunity for what it's worth. So I like Indy, but I think that would have definitely done nothing for Candice other than maybe losing a tag team match again. Yes, absolutely, Miss J. That's right. Selena Vega all day. Um, so let's go to the very end of again what we saw for a second consecutive week. Charlotte Flair would then enter the ring after Tiffany Stratton was laying there in ruins for the second consecutive week. Last time, Charlotte Flair actually decided to pull up a chair and talk a little smack to Tiffany. And this week, I believe she just stood over her at the conclusion of that segment or that match. So that was how that went. And next up, we're going to be talking a little bit about Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes reminiscing backstage about WrestleMania 40 and how it went their way last year as they both left as champions. In the meantime, guys, if I could get you to please hit that thumbs up, hit the like. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. I'm here every Monday and Friday following Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, full review of the show. And again, I pop on here time to time as I pop on time to time on TikTok as well and do lives there as well. So I appreciate you guys in the comments. Again, thank you for subbing and all that good stuff. But again, when you make your way in here, at least hit that like button, and I'll get to your comments, questions, and all other wrestling concerns throughout the course of this live. Calvin saying, can you answer me this question? What is wrong with KO and Drew McIntyre? What do you mean, Cal? I mean, they're suffering losses, and I would be led to believe that that it's eventually going to turn into something as far as them maybe joining forces, right? And maybe even Seth from Raw, and maybe they go on some kind of revenge tour. Not taking anything out of Liv's, uh, suggestion box there. She went on her own revenge tour that worked out pretty well for her in 2024. But maybe they will eventually go and get a whole lot of wins, maybe the second half of this year. Who knows? But there's got to be a reason why these top stars like Drew and KO and stuff are suffering loss after loss more times than not. And one thing about Seth, it always seems like he wins when it comes to qualifying for a tournament or a chamber match or something like that. But I don't know when it comes to winning the big one these days. I don't know. Seth's been having a tough time seemingly. So, Cal, you're saying why do people not like them? Well, they're heels. They're heels, right? So, usually people don't like heels more times than not, and some people love heels. Some people love heels. So I'm more of a babyface guy myself. I like a good heel once in a while. I appreciate a good heel, even if I'm not cheering for them. I've that's been well documented over the years. Recently, of course, Gunther and stuff like that. I may never cheer for the guy, but I can appreciate his body of work and all that good stuff. So, all right, well, let's pick up here. We're going to talk a little bit about, again, Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes reminiscing backstage as they talked about last year. Both of them walked out of WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia as champion. Damian Priest says, look, when I win the Elimination Chamber, I'm coming for you at Mania. And unfortunately, only one of us can then walk out as champion this year. So I thought that was a cool segment. It's the little subtleties for me. We all know Damian Priest ain't winning the chamber, right? But it's the little subtleties and stuff like that that I really do enjoy. I was looking at a flyer from last year's chamber. And out of the 6 men that were in it last year, there's actually 2 men that are returning to the chamber this year that were in it last year. And that's Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul that were in that match. So, of course, they will then be joined by CM Punk, John Cena, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins, joining Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre just a week away. Next Saturday, March 1st. It's here already. Can't believe we're already embarking on March. That's pretty crazy. Feel free, guys, to drop some comments in the chat. Don't be shy. We all know Cal isn't. So you guys go ahead and join him in the chat as well. Let's see here. I'm going to be so happy if Drew McIntyre would win and beat Cody Rhodes at Mania. Yeah, I know you want Cody to lose. Preferably for you, it would be KO beating him. But at this point, I think you'll take anybody taking down Cody, Cal. So, all right, guys. So let's forge forward here. Again, thank you for joining me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And we're going to move on to Byron Saxton backstage with Naomi and Bianca. Now, I found this to be incredibly interesting. They talk about Jade Cargill and the attack and the footage that came out last Friday on SmackDown, trying to pin it on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez because they were there in that parking lot area. And Naomi says she's certain it was Liv and Raquel. Bianca says they hadn't heard back from their girl Jade, so they went and handled matters and they took it into their own hands. So that's what they did Monday night on Raw. We would then see them mix it up with them again tonight. We're supposed to get a match between Naomi and Liv, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Unfortunately, that did not take place in reality, probably because The Rock was scheduled last minute and took up probably a lot of their TV time as well as DIY versus Pretty Deadly. But outside of that, let's talk about storyline, right? That's what happened there. Let's talk about Alexa Bliss. All right, I'm very very excited to talk about Alexa Bliss for a variety of reasons. Right, we saw her get a nice win, I believe, 2 weeks ago or so, 2 3 weeks ago against Candice LeRae. We have this Alexa Bliss vignette, and if there was anybody who was wondering if Alexa Bliss is going to join the Wyatt Six or not, well, then I hope tonight answered everything you need to know regarding Alexa Bliss joining the Wyatt Six. It hasn't happened officially, but we know it's coming. Some would say the handwriting's on the wall. So Alexa Bliss, she talks about the Elimination Chamber match next Saturday and how she's going to turn the chamber into a playground of her own. Now, we knew a couple years back she used to have Alexa's Playground. She would actually do the whole set in the ring as she would do her segments weekly or daily, um, a spinoff of Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse. And then to add to that, the way she ended this vignette tonight was great. She ended the segment like Bray would at the end of his Firefly Funhouse. It would be very dark and eerie, right, for that minute or two. And at the end, she kind of snapped back into her old self, like Bray would with the Mister Rogers bit. He would say, do a slight giggle, and she would say, "See you soon," and kind of waved off like Bray would. So that tells us everything we need to know. See you soon. Again, Wyatt six bound, inevitably so. There's no doubt about it. Rachel says, you like Cody. Yeah, I like Cody too. Let's see. I don't see Cody lose his belt anytime soon, nor do I, Rachel. I think so, Cal. I think you're the lone soldier, brother. He's definitely not the biggest fan. There's another guy that I don't like, and he goes by the name of Sami Zayn. Yeah, I see, Cal. Cal, let's call it like this. If his name ain't Kevin Owens, you probably ain't for him. I mean, you would like Drew too, because you're hoping Drew beats Cody at some point too. So anyway, we're moving on here to Naomi. She comes out with Bianca Belair, who is scheduled to face Liv Morgan in a singles contest. Of course, Liv Morgan was set to come out with Raquel. And actually, while Naomi and Bianca were making their way out, they were actually on the apron of the ring at this point in time. Lights were still off. They usually have the whole glow bit for Naomi. And they were attacked during their entrance. They were attacked by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Actually, so much so that Bianca was knocked off of the apron. So a brutal beatdown resulted in no match taking place tonight. But Monday, they'll meet up in a tag team matchup. We have Naomi and Bianca defending their tag team titles against Liv and Raquel Monday night. And maybe we see Jade Cargill finally emerge for the first time in 3+ months, ever since being attacked, right? A couple of days before Thanksgiving. And maybe we get some answers. That would be great. That would be great. So we'll see what happens there. We would then head backstage for a segment with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green approaching SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis, where they tried to squeak their way in to the Elimination Chamber, which I thought was it was fun. It was fun. Chelsea Green's always great on the mic. I mean, she's good in the ring. Always has fun ring gear, fun presentation. Her segments are always good. So Piper and Chelsea try to get in the chamber, saying, well, since Bianca and Naomi were taken out tonight, and they probably won't be fit to be in the match next Saturday, I'm readily available. Nick Aldis declined. He said, no, they'll be fine in a week's time. He goes, however, next Friday in Toronto, I will have a match set up for you on SmackDown. So I don't think he said anything about her defending her title. I could be wrong. Nor do I think Nick Aldis mentioned Chelsea Green's opponent. But we do know for certain one thing is that she will have a match next. She will have a match next Friday on SmackDown. Against whom? And will the title be on the line? That's the biggest question. Now, here we go. Right, here we go. Buckle up. Sit back. Relax. A lot of us were confused by how this went. And it's The Rock. It's how he's been moving lately. A lot of things have made us scratch our head involving The Rock. Because quite frankly, yeah, he's making us really think of what's next. And at the same time, I think they don't know exactly what is next for The Rock and Cody Rhodes specifically. But here we are. The Rock would make his way out, I think, a little bit before 10 p.m. Again, usually by this time, I'm winding down thinking, why the hell is SmackDown 3 hours now? Should have stayed at 2 like it's been for years. 2025 came about and they said, hey, let's do 3 hours, at least through June. Terrible idea. But tonight was the first one I thought it was tolerable and it actually went by at a decent pace. That's just me. So The Rock made his way out. There was actually a little bit of a rap remix in the midst of his entrance song, right before the beat really dropped for the final boss, and that was, I believe, it was "The Block Is Hot," Lil Wayne and company, uh, which he would then discuss talking at the press conference afterwards, which I'll get to at the end of this review. He had to give a little ode to one of his New Orleans favorites and Lil Wayne and stuff, so that was cool. Rock made his way out, got a lot of Rocky chants. Crowd was loving it. I mean, he was shaking hands. I said to myself initially, I said, all right, he's dressed as the final boss, but he's being very nice to the crowd, at least initially, like he was January 6th on that Raw debut on Netflix. So I wasn't sure what to expect here. So The Rock made his way out. And instead of saying, finally, The Rock has come back to New Orleans, he paused and did a brief pause and said, finally, WrestleMania is coming back to New Orleans. So WrestleMania comes back to New Orleans next year, 2026, Saturday, April 11th, Sunday, April 12th. And they'll be at this Caesars Superdome. Again, they were in New Orleans, WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 34. So I thought that was really great to see. I thought that was beautiful to see them go back there because honestly, I've enjoyed both of those manias. I didn't like the outcomes of a lot of the matches at WrestleMania 34, but I loved 30. I loved 30 there, especially seeing them open up. I know Hogan opened up, and then we had Austin and The Rock. So that was a cool moment with the three of them, a bunch of different eras right there. And, if you know me, Stone Cold Steve Austin's my guy. So seeing Stone Cold unto itself was a great way to start WrestleMania 30 in 2014. So looking forward to them being back in NOLA for the third time for WrestleMania. Immediately following that, he started singing "When the Saints Go Marching In." Now, I found this to be incredibly funny because if you paid attention to NXT this past Tuesday, who made his official contract signing? Ricky Starks, right? With who? The Rock's daughter, NXT General Manager Ava, right? That said, what's Ricky Starks' new name? Ricky Saints. Where the Saints play, New Orleans. Again, The Rock started singing "The Saints Go Marching In," and Ricky Starks also from New Orleans. Talk about divine timing, right? Ricky Starks signing with the company, at least on television intents and purposes. The same week, Ava's father, aka The Rock, happens to mention that Friday that WrestleMania 42 will return to New Orleans next year. Thought that was pretty cool. What a small world for all that to happen in just a matter of a couple days. That was cool. And then this is where The Rock took a turn. He kind of leaned into, well, he didn't just kind of lean in, he completely leaned in to his final boss character. Once he let us know that, hey, you know what? WrestleMania is going to be here next year. Fans started chanting and saying things when he wanted to talk. And then he said, all you STD having trailer park trash, blase, blase, blah. And then it was at that moment that we said, okay, this is the final boss that we got last year on the road to WrestleMania, right? Last February, March, early April. And so that was fun. That was enjoyable. And we said, there he is. He hasn't reared his head out in a while since last April. And there it was. And just like that, he was back. So The Rock came out to call somebody out, he said. And we all knew who that was, especially when we knew at the top of this show that Cody Rhodes was no longer in that six-man main event. It was supposed to be Cody Rhodes, Braun Strowman, Damian Priest versus the New Bloodlines, or formerly the New Bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga, right? So that was supposed to be the initially scheduled match. We then found out that was not going to take place. So we said, okay, they're saving Cody for The Rock. That's exactly why that happened. He totally changed the trajectory of what this SmackDown episode was supposed to be. But again, the reason I'm not complaining is not just a WrestleMania announcement we got for next year, but the fact that to me, even though a lot of you guys said in the comments you didn't enjoy the show or thought it was boring or whatever, I thought this show flowed well. It went by without me having to keep looking at the clock for 3 hours. So, for whatever reason or why that happened, I don't know. But I am glad that I was able to just enjoy the show and not be like, oh my God, another hour, as I've been Friday after Friday lately. So The Rock goes down and says, I'm going to call out Cody Rhodes. Cody would then make his way out. Cody Rhodes would get a lot of loud Cody chants. And The Rock discusses, look, I was with Cody here on January 6th, the Raw debut on Netflix. I gave you your flowers. We went backstage. We had some Terramana tequila. He had to promote his own product, obviously. And The Rock says, again, they become good friends. Rock tells Cody, you are a great WWE champion. Says, look, even at WrestleMania 40 last year, our moms have become good friends and even took a photo together, which then they displayed on the screen there. He says, but, and we knew there was going to be a but here because we knew the final boss was in fact back just moments earlier. And so The Rock would then go on to say, he's on the board at TKO. All right. He says, I'm the director of the board. And The Rock then says he is the most powerful. Um, he says he's the most powerful, simply stated, on the board, wherever, in the ring, call it what you want. So he's stating his claim. The Rock never shies away, right, from sharing his accolades, not just on WWE television. We know that. But he wants Cody to be his champion. Now, that's when everybody said, oh, okay. We thought he was just going to challenge him to a match, perhaps sometime eventually. And he says, no, Cody, I want you to be my champion. Cody says, but I am their champion, the people. And the irony is, before The Rock even said it, The Rock is and has, at least over the years, been the people's champion, at least majority of the time, not always. And then The Rock says, I get it. I've been the people's champion as well. And says, look, Cody, you may have millions of social media followers, but I have half a billion. I have half a billion. And says he can open up more doors for Cody Rhodes, can make every dream come true for him. And says they're both mama's boys and girl dads at the very same time. All true. All true. Then he goes on to say to a fan who was yelling out loud, The Rock yelled to a fan and said he will slap the syphilis off their face. He's trying to have a moment and for them to shut their mouth. That was great. I think whether you like The Rock or not, when it comes to in ring or maybe just character, right? You got to appreciate how quick witted he is and how funny he is and getting his point across while being able to stay on track all at the very same time. And that's I feel is a very overlooked and underrated skill, which a lot of people can't do. Even your favorite wrestler, your favorite superstar, a lot of them can't do that. And so that's what puts him in an upper echelon. You may not think The Rock is one of the best wrestlers ever. You may like his character work or his promo ability, and you may think, but this is what separates him from a lot of people. That's why I always give The Rock his flowers, regardless of whether I like him or not. So he went on and told the fan that, again, similar things that he would go on and say last year on the road to WrestleMania. The Rock then talks about Cody derailing him and Roman last year at WrestleMania. So he wasn't a fan of that, but he still kept things polite and nice. And he says, look, I don't need an answer tonight, Cody, but give me an answer at Elimination Chamber, March 1st in Toronto. You go home, talk to your wife, confer with her. You let me know, but I would like you to be my champion. And then The Rock goes on to say, as they finish up this segment, there is one thing in WWE, or there's one thing rather that I want more than anything in this entire world. And Cody says, you point to my WWE championship. You want this title more than anything in the whole entire world. And The Rock said, no, not that. The Rock tells Cody, I want your soul. Now that left a lot of us in awe, I guess. And I think a lot of us were confused as to where this was going prior to that comment, obviously, for those 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long this back and forth was going, or more so, not back and forth, but The Rock just saying what he needed to get off his chest. And so at that moment in time, we were just thinking, okay, well, I'm not quite sure what this means, but The Rock tells Cody, I want your soul. So take that as you may. I'm really not sure what to make of it. But Cody has 1 week. He has 1 week to give The Rock an answer next Saturday in Toronto at Elimination Chamber. Cody was left speechless, looking bewildered, deer in headlights type of deal. What's that mean? Who knows? But next up, we would get a WWE Tag Team Championship match, which, this was then interrupted, much like Liv and Naomi, but at least this match actually got started. I find it funny that the match before and after the Rock segment was minimized. The first match didn't happen. In this match, there was no change of hands for the title, no legitimate winner. A disqualification, but again, no pinfall submission attempt for the victory. So I'll get to that tag team match in a second as I look to the comments section here. Again, guys, if you're just joining me, be sure to hit that thumbs up, hit that like button on this Friday night SmackDown review. I appreciate each and every one of you joining me. Again, I'm sure everybody's got their busy weekends. It's a late night. It's past midnight here on the East Coast. But if you're up, you're watching me, I appreciate you guys. All right. So hit that like button, hit the thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to Turnbuckle Topics here as well. I'm here every Monday and Friday, immediately following Raw and SmackDown, full reviews of the show. Let's get to the comments here. Cal, I know you had a few things going on here. Let's see here. What if The Rock demands KO to have a title? I mean, he could, Cal. I'm sure you would very much like that, man. You don't like Ricky Stark's new name? Maybe it will grow on us. I can't say I was the craziest fan of Ricky Saints. Again, I get why he did it. He's from New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll see. There's been, truth's been told that I've been watching for decades, and there has been many worse names, especially recent history. I wasn't the craziest fan of Braun Breaker in 2021 or Gunther in 2022, but I learned to get used to it. So I'm sure I'll get used to Ricky Saints as well. Is it something I thought he would have had as a name? Absolutely not. But changes were made, and so we'll see that. But Cal, yes, I am feeling better, Cal. Thank you. Um, Still getting over that cold, but I'm a lot better than I was not just 1 week ago, but a few days ago. So thank you for asking. All right, guys, thank you for joining me again. Feel free to shout out in the comments how we're doing tonight, and what did you enjoy from the show? I know there's something you had to like. A lot of the show, I get it. We didn't get the best pro wrestling on the show tonight. But tell me what you did enjoy. There had to have been at least one thing you enjoyed here on this show, Friday Night SmackDown. I used to be a fan of Gunther, but you're not anymore, says Cal. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on here, and we are going to talk about Pretty Deadly versus DIY for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Simply stated, this match got cut short. All right, by the Street Profits interference attack, all four men. DIY, they attack Pretty Deadly as well, and you're looking at your next tag team champions. Okay, you're looking at the Street Profits. They're going to go on for the gold without question sooner than later. Motor City Machine Guns, when they come out, hopefully to their aid, or at least to take on the Profits, who interrupted their match at the Royal Rumble 3 weeks ago. But they are taken out by the Profits as well. The Profits are on a mean streak, man. Um, and again, Montez and Angelo Dawkins, they're not playing around. I don't know if they're going to add that match to. I mean, maybe we see a multi-team match at Mania, which I think is the most likely of scenarios. Continue to let this build for a little bit, but I wouldn't even mind last minute just getting it over with because we kind of know where it's headed. DIY going up against the Street Profits, two heel tag teams for the titles. Just put them on the Profits at this point in time, but I'm sure they'll have the Profits win the titles. Maybe not defeating DIY directly, but maybe having a multi-team match and maybe having them pin some babyface team at that point in time, which Pretty Deadly is well on their way. The babyface, if they're not full blown already, so I could see the Profits pitting a team like Pretty Deadly to win those tag titles, maybe at WrestleMania. So we'll see. Sean says in the comments, Rock versus Cody for the championship at WrestleMania. We could get that, Sean, but I think the biggest dilemma here is, and even though Rock went on to say clearly tonight that not only is he on a power trip, but he is powerful at all times, that the Elimination Chamber winner is supposed to be going up against Cody. Now, could they make that a triple threat? Absolutely. Whether it's Cena, whether it's Punk, whether it's Rollins, Priest, McIntyre, even Logan Paul, right? Whoever wins that match, whatever individual gets out, makes it out alive there, goes up against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And could The Rock then throw himself in the midst of a championship match with Cody? Absolutely. So if The Rock gets involved, then it's obviously at least a triple threat. But we're not going to get a one-on-one at Mania with The Rock and Cody. I just don't see that happening. Again, it's different if The Rock was in the Rumble or won that, or in the Chamber and obviously won that. But so we'll see. But The Rock still can bully his way in a triple threat. We'll see what happens there. I'm thinking Rock Cody for SummerSlam at earliest, to be honest with you. As I said at the top of this live, I could see that very easily happening as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kevin Owens. Let's talk about him outside the house of Sami Zayn, and watching them through their window. Sami Zayn's house, their window. It's him, his wife, his son, their son. And, simply stated, Kevin Owens goes on to say, Sami asked for all this, and that this is going to be all of his fault when all is said and done next Saturday in Toronto at Elimination Chamber in this unsanctioned match that was made unofficial, I guess you could say, by Raw General Manager Adam Pearce this past Monday on Raw. So we'll see what happens there. Shortly after that, we'd get a John Cena video package talking about Elimination Chamber 2010, in regards to him in that match, and leading up to here we are, just 15 years later, in his final Elimination Chamber match, in hopes to secure a championship opportunity at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas against Cody Rhodes. Will it happen? Perhaps. Again, do I think Cena wins the title off Cody? No. I think if Cena was to go up against Gunther, had it not been Jey Uso, then I think Cena beating Gunther wouldn't have just been better because Gunther's the heel, the foreign heel in this story, which I would have personally loved. But, I just see Cena not taking down Cody. I think it's a bigger deal for Cody to retain his title, which leads me to believe one of two things. Either that's what Cena does for Cody, or Punk maybe gets involved in that match. And then who knows? Maybe Punk could beat Cody in that one. So we'll see. We soon shall see. This then would lead us to about the 10:45 mark. And then we would see a main event match. We're here at the main event now. Damian Priest and Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Now, they came out to Jacob Fatu's music. Very interesting. Very telling of where this is headed the last 2 weeks. Tama Tonga was with them, of course. Tama does whatever Jacob says. If Jacob said to Tama Tonga tonight, beat the living hell out of Solo Sikoa, he would have went and did it. Even at the beginning of the show when Solo Sikoa tapped Tama Tonga's chest, Tama looked at him like, "Don't touch me." So they want no part of him, really. They just keep him around. So that feud's coming. Jacob is taking no prisoners, and they came out to his music. So I'm going to jump to the finish here. Jacob was looking to hit Damian Priest with a super kick. Damian dipped out of the way, then connects with Solo Sikoa. So Jacob Fatu inadvertently kicks Solo Sikoa, even though I'm sure he didn't mind doing so. And on the outside, at this moment in time, again, Jacob fell to the outside. Tama Tonga was already there ringside for this match. Braun Strowman would come around, as he used to do before he was released years ago, do his Strowman Express outside of the ring, came around that right corner, and absolutely bulldozed both Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga into the commentary area. So I don't think there's many men that can say they've ever bulldozed a guy like Jacob Fatu, but Braun did it. And the way this wrapped up, we saw a South of Heaven chokeslam in the ring by obviously Damian Priest to Solo Sikoa for the 1-2-3. That was the finish of the show, of this match. And again, this SmackDown, many of you said it was not so great. I hear you. I get it. It was okay. I thought it was all right. Again, the reason I'm not knocking this SmackDown is, to me, this was the first one that flowed all year. Out of the 7 episodes or 8 episodes or however many we've seen in 2025, I got to say this one was the only time that I was not looking at the clock on a regular basis. So uh, I don't mind. Again, I would like some better wrestling matches, some more exciting stuff on a daily basis. The Rock Cody has me a little intrigued here. We got the WrestleMania 42 announcement for next year in New Orleans, April 11th and 12th. That was cool. He leaned into the final boss character. So we'll see what happens going forward. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to briefly discuss the post SmackDown press conference that The Rock stood up there for about 20 minutes or so. Sat up there for 20 minutes, took some questions, and I thought it was rather fun. Sometimes these press conferences could be a whole bunch of nonsense, bogus questions, bogus, lame political answers. But I got to say, collectively, The Rock was fun with his press conference. He was legitimately getting in depth with the fans. It wasn't 1-2 word answers. He wasn't moody with any of them. And he was even reverting back to his early start with the company. When asked about WrestleMania, talked about WrestleMania 13, his first one, going in as Intercontinental Champion against the Sultan, aka Rikishi, a family member of his. And so, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let me get to the comments here. Cal is saying, thank you, Cena. Well, I'm sure you're appreciating this retirement tour by Cena. Me too, Cal. And I'm soaking it all up, man. Regardless what John Cena accomplishes during 2025, whether he becomes a Grand Slam champion finally and wins that IC title that's eluded him these 23 years, or gets number 17, gets that 17th World Heavyweight Championship, surpasses Ric Flair's record of 16. If we get either of those, great. And if we don't get either of those, I'm still good with it. I'm glad that, we all got the opportunity to have a farewell tour for John Cena this year. And he's going to go all through December. He wants to do the whole calendar year. As he said last July, 30 to 40 dates. Doesn't mean 30 to 40 matches. We may only get 8 matches. We could get 10. But obviously, he's trying to at least get one title match. And we'll know next weekend, next Saturday at Elimination Chamber, if that in fact will happen. So, want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. Again, going to stick around for a few more minutes to talk about the press conference with The Rock at the end here. And again, if you haven't already, guys, hit that thumbs up, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And thank you for joining me for this Friday night SmackDown review. So let's start off with The Rock coming out here. It's probably around 11:15 or so Eastern time. And he was asked a couple good questions talking about what made them want to come back to New Orleans. The Rock was referring to the late 70s, early 80s, New Orleans, Freebirds, Junkyard Dog, a lot of the nostalgia, just New Orleans being a good pro wrestling city and stuff like that. Lots of rich history in the city. Talked about loving a lot of the rappers from that area, whether it was Juvenile, Lil Wayne, and such, and talked about that's why, in his entrance, if you noticed at the very start of his song before it got going when he came out, I believe it was The Block is Hot with Lil Wayne and company. So that was cool to hear as well. Also goes on to talk about the Netflix deal that they have. It's a 10-year deal, Monday Night Raw on Netflix. We'll see what happens in the future with Netflix. I'm sure they may move more of their library. Who knows one day if SmackDown and NXT goes there, has all their live programming on it on Netflix one day after their CW and USA deals that they just made for 2024 expire. But I think each of those are at least 5-year deals at minimum. So that's going to be a little bit. And I'm not sure how much longer they're going to be with or on Peacock. I think 20, what was it, 2021, 2022, here in the States. We no longer had the WWE Network. They then moved all their stuff over to Peacock around WrestleMania time. So again, I don't know how long that deal is, but I would not be surprised if eventually over time everything would just move over to Netflix. Seems like they have a very good relationship, as he alluded to there. Then discusses everything with him as the final boss and Cody Rhodes, and how, the whole story with The Rock and Cody Rhodes is just very, very unpredictable. And who knows what's really next as far as their story is concerned. I think they have some bullet points and some ideas as far as where things are going to go with them. But honestly, I think he's wondering what's next as well. And they take it in stride. And I'm good with that. Also talks about both of their fathers being friends over the years. Dusty Rhodes, Rocky Johnson, and stuff like that. And this whole back and forth with Rock and Cody isn't necessarily going to lead to a match, although I think it will. I think he's saying that because they're not quite sure when it's going to lead to a match, but I think it's inevitably so. Now, since he loves New Orleans so much, they shouldn't ask him. Um, since he loves Nola so much, they should have asked him to get with his name back. What are you talking about, Nas? What are you mentioning there? So jumping back into this segment backstage or in the press conference with The Rock, said again, him and Cody after their segment tonight that went fairly well. It was, again, some may have called it odd, uncertain. What does The Rock mean? He wants Cody's soul. I get it. But he says after this, him and Cody went backstage just like they did Monday Night Raw, first Raw Netflix, January 6th. They went backstage and they enjoyed a few tequilas. So that's cool. Also says they were going to originally announce WrestleMania 42 coming to New Orleans, since New Orleans was where the Super Bowl took place 2 weeks ago at the Caesars Superdome. But that did not work out. There were a couple of hiccups, so they were not able to announce it 2 weeks ago at the Super Bowl. But I'm kind of glad they did it tonight to the WWE fans directly. I, I'm sure it would have been a broader audience, obviously, with the Super Bowl, without question. But as a pro wrestling fan, I'm glad they did it on an episode of SmackDown. Now, he also goes on to discuss his first Mania, his first WrestleMania 13 in Chicago. That was also Austin's first Mania, right? Or at least his first singles match. I don't know if he was ever at 12 as the ringmaster and all that. I don't think so. But WrestleMania 13 in Chicago, where we had Austin and Bret Hart. You remember that? And The Rock went on to defend his Intercontinental Championship against the Sultan. Now, he walked in as a babyface. We all knew the babyface shtick didn't work very long for The Rock. And you got to remember, The Rock was barely with the company for 5 months at that point. If so, 5, 6 months. He debuted November 96 at Survivor Series at Madison Square Garden. That being The Rock, Rocky Maivia. And as he went up against the Sultan, again, Rikishi, his family, they were chanting, Rocky sucks. Um, so that, and Rikishi gave him some positive words during the match. Basically told him to brush that off and all that, because that hurts. As a babyface, a new guy in the company, you're supposed to be beloved. You're the IC champion, so he didn't know how to feel about that. Goes on to talk about a year earlier, he was cut from the CFL, and after Mania, Vince went on to tell The Rock, "This is just not working out, and we're going to take the Intercontinental Championship off of you." Um, that's pretty. That's pretty rough news to hear after WrestleMania. To hear something like that, you kind of wonder, the uncertainties of where your career trajectory is headed. You go from, being hero to zero real quick in that kind of situation. Also talking about maybe a week later, he tore a ligament in his knee, so he was injured. He was out most of the summer of '97. He was thinking about doing MMA. He was thinking about doing MMA in Japan, I believe. He was talking about Pride. Um, Also, then went on to say at the end of '97, end of that summer rather, August '97, he got a call from Vince. They talked about him joining the Nation in Domination, which made a world of difference. As we all know, this changed The Rock's career in the best way possible. If you're going to be treated like a heel, you might as well be one. And so they said, look, you're going to join the Nation Domination. You're going to go heel. The Rock said, okay, can I get like a 5-minute segment on TV, Vince, to kind of like give them my 2 cents, to say the least, and where I stand and as to why I became a heel and a bad guy or whatever. Vince said, we cannot afford to give you 5 minutes on our 2-hour weekly show. We just can't, but I'll give you 2 minutes. So The Rock went out there, did that. And he says, that promo at that time, I think it was early September. Because I remember when I went to my first episode of Monday Night Raw, September 22nd, 1997 at Madison Square Garden. The Rock was definitely with the Nation. I believe he fought Ahmed Johnson that night. I think that might have even been an Intercontinental Championship tournament. Either way, he was definitely with the Nation. And The Rock said that if you remember that promo, it's not a white thing, not a black thing. It's a respect thing. That was the the moment he was talking about with Vince McMahon, allowing Vince allowing him rather to give him that opportunity to get on the mic and give his 2 cents as to why he became a heel suddenly. Talking about being about a month later, we're talking October, a little after Bad Blood and stuff like that, debut of Kane, the untimely passing of Brian Pillman, all on that very same day. About a month later, he was one of the, if not the hottest bad guy in all of WWF. And then it all stemmed from WrestleMania 13 and that debacle, and when the fans in Chicago booed the living hell out of the babyface Intercontinental Champion, that being The Rock. So he said all that to talk about how important WrestleMania is, and everybody talks about WrestleMania moments, and we all think of it in a bright way, rightfully so. The mystique, winning a title, defending your championship, whatever it may be, right? And The Rock says that was his WrestleMania moment, his first Mania, that really woke him up as to, I got to do something different. And so he did months later. And the rest is history, right? He said, talked about being real and being authentic, especially when your character is at a very uncertain stage. At the conclusion of his press conference, went on to talk about Nick Khan after being asked, who do you really confer with on a daily basis in WWE and backstage and behind the scenes, TKO, Endeavor. Talked about Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, that being Triple H, obviously, are the two. Obviously, Ari Emanuel, who he often refers to, even talked about him on SmackDown tonight, pretty much who owns WWE these days. And, even talked about him and Triple H back in the late 90s, right? Before they were ever in this situation with creative or Rock being a TKO board member, director of the board. He would say, me and Triple H always talked about, even since the late 90s, let's do something that's never been done before. So him and Triple H have a very open mind as far as their concepts together, which is good. It's great to hear that they're willing to try something new, to be different. Not everything is going to work out. Not everything is going to stick, but A for effort. And I applaud them if they're willing to try different things, whatever that may entail. So this press conference went about 20 minutes. Again, it went from about, I don't know, here on the East Coast, 11:15 to about 11:35 p.m. And then I hopped on here as soon as I could. And that was pretty much the conclusion of uh, SmackDown and the press conference, and pretty much my review. So I'll stick around for a few moments here with you guys. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with me here tonight for the last hour or so. I can't believe it's been about an hour already. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, guys. Also, thumbs up in the chat. Hit that like button. Everyone counts. Gianna Forever, how we doing there? You're saying CM Punk will use his favor and get into the main event against Cody? Perhaps. Are you saying that? Are you saying that John Cena is going to win then? If you're thinking Punk needs to call in that favor, are you going with Cena? Let me know in the comments. Um, you then proceed to say, okay, you got him coming out in the chamber, and then we get Cena versus Punk night 1 to see who faces Cody night 2. Interesting. You're saying Punk will turn heel, and then we get Summer of Punk 2025. Much like in AEW, we were supposed to get the Summer of Punk in 2022. Then he went out with that injury when he won the title from Hangman at Double or Nothing. Remember that? Then we knew what happened at All Out, and the rest was history with him pretty much there, right? You go on to say Cena wins Money in the Bank in July, and then faces Punk at SummerSlam here in Jersey, and wins the title at SummerSlam. Now, look, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to Cena winning Money in the Bank. I think, look, if he third time's a charm, right? He strikes out at the Rumble, potentially strikes out and just doesn't get it done at the Chamber, whether it's in the Chamber match itself or him and Punk, like the whole scenario you set up where Punk ends up being the one to face Cody at Mania. I'm intrigued by that stance. I like the thought. It's thought provoking that you have here presented to me. So I like it. I like it, and that would be fun. Look, in my home state of New Jersey, I'm not opposed to Cena winning 17 here. So if that's what you're telling me, I like that very much. I like that very much. And I also like the fact that it's later in the year. And it makes you wonder, it begs the question for a lot of big time Cena fans as well. Is he going to do it? Time's running out. He retires in December. I like that. Instead of him having to be champion, 1/3 of the way into the year, if that. And now he's got to go and defend it. And he's got to obviously drop it at some time. And so then you just beg the question, um, who and when will he lose it to? Right? So instead of asking that earlier in the year, I would rather stay on this John Cena quest and say, how is he going to find a way to get to that title opportunity? And then, hey, when that title opportunity presents itself, will he finally get it done? Will he get the 17th? And honestly, that's more exciting. Especially if you're a big time John Cena fan, yeah, maybe the perfect storybook ending of him winning 17th title at Mania. I get it. I completely understand that, guys. But I don't think it's going to go that smooth. And knowing John Cena and how he is and how he's at least been these past several years, taking, since he's been part time and all that, I don't think it comes easy at first. So let's see. Cal, you want Cena to win? Gianna says Randy Orton beats Cena in his last match, becomes WWE champion. Oh, I like that. You're cooking tonight. You're cooking. I like it. If Orton is the guy to dethrone Cena, obviously, I kind of feel like they'll put somebody in position that's going to. I feel like when Cena, if he were to win 17 and eventually lose before he retires the end of the year, I feel like Cena would put over somebody for the future because that would be a big deal. But look, if it's not Cena putting somebody over for the future and becoming perhaps maybe a first time or second time champion, right? And if it is somebody that's been there for a few years or a veteran like Randy Orton, if it's a veteran that Cena were to lose to, absolutely, I would love for it to be Randy Orton for him to get number 15. I've been waiting a few years. I think the last time he won the title was fall of 2020, right? When he won 14 from Drew McIntyre. So, look, if that's what we're talking here, I like what you're cooking up, man. I like what you're cooking up. Thinking Mania 42 main event Orton versus Rhodes could be possibly happening there. Okay, you're jumping a whole year in advance here at NOLA. I like it. I like it. Interesting. What if Cena sells out and takes the favor? Um, hmm. Interesting proposition there. Interesting. But guys, I appreciate you being here with me tonight. See, we got a good group of ladies and gentlemen still in the live here. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up, guys. Don't cost you any, I promise. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe as well to the channel if you're new here. It will then allow you to, comment here in the chat. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys back Monday night, immediately following Monday Night Raw. Again, Mondays and Fridays, I am here immediately following Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Full reviews of the show, as we did here this past hour. Time flies when you're having fun, I suppose. And Gianna says, we all need the three-man band main event at Mania. Cal says, I'm going to be happy for Rhodes to potentially lose. Cal, look, we get it. We get it. We know. We know. So appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. I'm going to field a few more questions in the chat, and then I am going to call it a night here. But thank you again. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for keeping this comment section booming here. And most certainly for those that subscribe, thank you. And I look forward to seeing most of you back here Monday night, immediately following Monday Night Raw. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. I haven't really looked too much at the match schedule, the match card for Monday. I know we're certainly going to get Bianca and Naomi defending their tag titles against Liv and Raquel with an impending return of Jade Cargill, maybe. So that's going to be interesting. I could see Naomi and Bianca dropping those tag titles, man, especially if who I think is going to win the Chamber and Bianca, have her sights set on the Chamber now. Drops the titles earlier in the week. Now she goes into Saturday night, next Saturday, that being March 1st in Toronto, looking and being very hungry to go up against Rhea Ripley for that women's world title. I don't think many would be opposed to Bianca Rhea at Mania for gold. I think most of us would be on board for that. Unless you're a big fan of either of the other 5 women that are in that match, whether that be a Bayley, an Alexa Bliss, a Liv Morgan, a Naomi, a Roxanne Perez. Look, I love them all just as much as you do. But I think this is an opportunity that is clearly cut out for Bianca Belair. And again, I'm thinking this, right? I talked about it a little bit, I think, last night or the night before that. If it were up to me, I would have Jade come back, potentially cost Naomi and Bianca those tag titles. Rightfully so, they'll be upset. The main reason being Naomi is the one who attacked Jade, in my opinion. So Jade's coming after Naomi. That sparks off into its own feud. Liv and Raquel advance. They move on to greener pastures. They're the new tag team champions. This will not be the first time they won tag gold. I think they won tag gold together. What was it? Late 22, early 23 or something like that. So they've been tag team champions before. They'll do it yet again, this time in a heel capacity. So you have them doing their thing, maybe walking into Mania with the tag titles. You then spin off into Jade Cargill and Naomi having a feud. Will that match happen at Mania? I don't know if they'll find that to be important enough. I would assume so, but we'll see. And then Bianca goes on and wins the Chamber next Saturday, and you got Bianca Belair now feuding with Rhea Ripley. And I think that's the best way for all of these women here to delve off into their own paths. I like Naomi and Bianca. Sad to say, storyline-wise, it seems like it's coming to a close. It's coming to a close. It just feels like that, right? They're just enjoying these last days as tag team champions. It's been a fun ride. It really has. But I think we're moving on here, and we'll see what happens in regards to that. Cal says, what time are you going to get off of here? Just wanting to know. I'm wrapping up in a few minutes. Guys. Some last thoughts, comments, And again, anybody got anything else to say in the chat, feel free to drop it in there now. Otherwise, I will be back here live again Monday night, immediately following Monday Night Raw, full review of the show, just as we did here tonight for Friday Night SmackDown. So look, guys, Mania is less than 2 months away. Looking forward to it. And most certainly, we got that announcement by The Rock earlier tonight. WrestleMania 42 takes place a week earlier next year. Instead of the 19th or 20th, it's going to be April 11th and 12th in New Orleans next year. So they'll be making their third appearance in New Orleans for WrestleMania. Again, WrestleMania 30 and 34, they were there. And now they will be back for WrestleMania 42 next year. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me for this Friday night SmackDown review. It's been a great time. Thank you for the likes, all the great commentary in the chat. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for all new subscribers as well. I will see you guys Monday night, immediately following Raw. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time.